All right, it is time for Friday feedback. The official audience email is info@davidpakman.com, but as you'll see, sometimes we will grab comments from Substack or YouTube or TikTok or wherever it may be. We will start today with, what are we starting with? We were starting with Facebook, where Frank says, the clown Pac-Man is arguing that they will be cutting Social Security benefits and at the same time arguing not to cut the waste and fraud and abuse in the federal budget. Newsflash, if we don't eliminate the waste, fraud, and abuse, there will be no money for Social Security. Well, Frank is very confused about how government works. Of course, if you're talking about eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse from within Social Security, I'm with you. They haven't yet demonstrated that. When Trump says there's a 250-year-old on the list of Social Security recipients, they've not demonstrated that a supposed 250-year-old is receiving any money. Social Security is based on its own trust fund. The money for the benefits comes from the trust fund. It is based on monies collected from the Social Security payroll deduction. Generically, getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse, which they remain unable to identify specifically. They found programs they don't like. They found claims like there's a ton of people 150 years old getting benefits, but they've not proven it. Generically getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse, if you could find it, wouldn't actually do anything because Social Security is a relatively closed system with its own trust fund. And Frank, not surprisingly, doesn't seem to understand how government works. Z Zan wrote in on Facebook and said, more gaslighting and lies. Please put a Republican on your show. Number one, I regularly do live streams on TikTok where all of the Republicans who want to come confront me can do it. They can tell me how I'm wrong about everything. They can question me. They can give me their views as to why what Trump is doing is awesome. So we do that. And then as far as Republican officials, they don't want to be on. We invite Republican officials to be on the show. They don't come on the show. So you should go and talk to them about appearing rather than me, because we're ready. SR Snugs wrote on the subreddit, has David done any interviews on other shows recently? I remember him promoting some for his book. Did he end up appearing? Yes. If you go to davidpakman.com/press, you will find everything from my MSNBC editorial to my appearances with Don Lemon, Politics Girl, Chris Cuomo, Impact Theory, The Young Turks, Midas Touch, Brian Tyler Cohen, Tom Hartman, and on and on and on. Okay, so many of those interviews at davidpakman.com/press for those who are interested. Candace wrote in on Spotify. You can leave comments on Spotify. Love the show, but isn't it factual that the Garcia case is that he did enter the country illegally and was granted a stay? I'm not sure if when you were referring to Trump as deporting U.S. citizens, you're referring to Garcia. And then wouldn't it be beneficial to explain how you are viewing him as a U.S. citizen? It sounds misleading. I love the show, but I'm seeking truth in reporting. I'm a firm believer in due process, feel it is being violated, but I want to call a spade a spade. Yeah, I've never once said that Garcia is a U.S. citizen. What I did say is that due process applies to people who are in the United States with a temporary protected status. It is not I who have been gaslighting. It is the right when they like to say things like, these people aren't here legally. Well, actually, they are here legally. They're just not here permanently. If you have a student visa, you're here legally, but it is not permanent status. When the visa ends, when your schooling ends, you've got to go back or get a new type of visa or apply for different legal status. Similarly, if you're in the United States and you're seeking asylum, or you have a stay, or you have a court date, you are here legally. You don't have permanent legal status to stay indefinitely, but you are here legally. And that's the point. It doesn't matter whether Garcia is sympathetic. It doesn't matter whether he's a Maryland father or a Maryland mother or not a parent at all. All that matters is he entitled to due process under the Constitution? Did he get it? And the answer, of course, is that he did not. Duty said on YouTube, why do Americans have so much trouble understanding what a tariff is and who pays it? Because the party in power is gaslighting them about it. When Trump says we've taken in billions from China in tariffs, you've taken in none of it. The tariffs are paid by American companies and by American importers. The reason Americans have trouble understanding it is many Americans have no clue how to think critically or look things up for themselves when they hear the dreaded, I've done my own research. Yikes. I'd love to sit in front of a computer and see what that looks like. A lot of people don't know how to do their own research. And there is a party that is pushing tariff policy that no one in their right mind would favor if they understood how tariffs actually worked. So there's an incentive, there's motivated reasoning for a lot of these folks to say, it must be good because Trump's doing it. Well, Trump's doing it and he's lying to you about how it works. Ariadne Do Castello wrote in on YouTube and said, European here with advice. American citizens need to revolt right now. We've seen all this before, and you guys are still hesitating. You know, what's interesting about this is I've gotten emails over the last 3 months from some people who say, David, you're being too hyperbolic. Democracy's not at risk. Trump's not trying to be authoritarian. You're being hyperbolic. And then there's another group that writes in and says, David, why aren't you screaming on your show about the existential threat that what's going on right now presents? My goal is to thread the needle and find the truth. There are major reasons to be concerned, and we need to activate around them. Screaming and being hyperbolic isn't useful. Pretending it's going on, it also isn't useful. But I'm doing everything I can to, as accurately as possible, convey the scope of the threat as I see it. And I do think that the threat is such that Americans should be protesting in the streets, and many Americans have been protesting in the streets. Domenica says, as a Canadian, I fully support my government developing a strategy to significantly diversify our trading partners to the detriment of the U.S. We can no longer count on them as a stable, democratic ally. How could I tell her that she's wrong? It is to the detriment of the United States. But of course, the tariffs are on, the tariffs are off. The tariffs are because of fentanyl. The tariffs are because of fentanyl. The tariffs are because of the border situation. The tariffs are because they don't like Justin Trudeau's suits. It is outrageous to be operating in this way as a supposedly developed, wealthy Western nation. And even if all the tariffs went away permanently today, the damage of Trump making the U.S. look like an unstable partner to any kind of agreement is going to take much longer to undo. It will probably take some other president, to be perfectly frank. Rain Owens saying that, like me, she is also naturalized. I'm also a Delta medallion level flyer, she writes. I wrote to Delta to explain that I won't be flying this year for the reasons you stated. This is a reference to me saying I've been warned not to leave the country because I might have trouble when I come back as a naturalized citizen. Anyone out there who has similar airline status or an airline card needs to write to the airline and remind them that this is bad for business. The airlines have some influence. It's an interesting idea. And then Pamela on Substack on the same topic says, we will not be traveling either. My husband is also a naturalized citizen for 60 years, but I am terrified. I'm even terrified to cross state borders. Yeah, so listen, I'll just be upfront. I think the crossing of state borders for 99% of people is not an issue. Certainly, if there's an issue with documentation, which is not the situation Pamela's talking about, there are states that are show us your paper states, and that could be a problem. But I'm hearing, we got dozens of messages like this. I'm a naturalized citizen. I'm not leaving the country because I don't know what's going to happen when I come back in. I will admit, I am tentatively scheduled to leave the country briefly soon. And I'm a little bit, as Trump would say, a little bit scared of what's going to happen on the way back in. But I will be making contact with an immigration attorney who will know exactly where I will be entering and will be available should anything happen, I guess is the way that I would say it. info at davidpakman.com. If you have anything you would like to communicate with us, please remember to keep those reviews going for the book. The book was back on the bestseller list, which is very exciting. The book, of course, is The Echo Machine, available everywhere books are sold. We're approaching 1,000 reviews on Amazon. That would be beautiful to get to. You can also review on Barnes & Noble and Goodreads. And remember that if the clampdown comes, if for any reason they shut us down on YouTube or Facebook, it's happened before. The only place I own my data is our mailing list, which is on Substack. The only way I'll be able to get a hold of you and tell you what's going on if the clampdown happens is to our newsletter subscribers. It's completely free. Go to davidpakman.substack.com and sign up, or email info@davidpakman.com. Say, David, get me that newsletter, and I will put you on there, sir or ma'am. All right, we'll see you on the bonus show and be back here Monday. After researching, writing, refining, The Echo Machine, my book, is finally out. This is not just a book about how American politics got so broken. It's also about what's happening right now and what we can still do to stop things from getting worse. Trump's been back in power. The results have been even more catastrophic than many feared, with targeting of political opponents and gutting democratic institutions, laying the groundwork to even further consolidate power. But the thing is that none of this is inevitable. The same forces that brought us here can be countered if we understand how they work and what to do about them. And that's what The Echo Machine is all about. Some say that without corporate media backing, books like this can't succeed. I think we can prove them wrong. You can get The Echo Machine right now at davidpakman.com/echo on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Audible, Kindle, or by calling any local bookstore and asking them to order it. This book is more important than ever. If you care about what happens next, and I do, check out The Echo Machine today at davidpakman.com/echo.